Hello everyone, my name is Varun, and on behalf of our team from NLP Core and University of Washington, I would like to present our paper titled Viruses, Visualizations and Validation, Interactive Mining of COVID-19 Literature. To give you a brief background, we started working on a dataset called COD19, short for COVID-19 Open Research Dataset. This is a collection of scholarly articles made available by Allen Institute and a consortium of other research labs. At present, it has about 70,000 research articles, and it's being updated actively as more and more research is being published and made available. For our first experiment, we started working on with the problems suggested by Allen Institute in terms of different tasks as to find in terms of finding relationships for transmission, infection, and treatment. For the second experiment, we used another dataset called LitCovid, made public by NIH, which is a collection of research articles and hand-annotated entities for similar things like transmission, infection, and treatment, which contains expertly curated annotations. And we use this dataset to do a sanity check on our results and see how good of a job we are able to do to recreate those relationships. Both of these experiments are made available in form of a Jupyter notebook hosted on kaggle.com. As I mentioned before, we used LitCovid to verify our results. So in this, we used the article IDs in the form of PMC and PMIDs, and index the same documents that are there in the LitCovid and pass through these articles to our pipeline, and then try and recreate the relationships that are hand annotated by the experts in this database, and see how many of those research articles can we retrieve. So true positives are the papers returned by both NLP Core and LitCovid. False positive are the articles returned by NLP Core but are not identified as a valid relation for that particular keyword, and this often happens because our engine picks up the keyword but is probably is not able to find a relationship, or finds a relationship that is not very useful. And false negatives are the ones that we could not find in our engine but were present in the LitCovid. This also happens primarily because we do not have access to all the articles and due to licensing agreements, and sometimes only have abstracts. This is the confidence matrix of the experiment we did. So for each of the three keywords, you can see the precision is generally very high, meaning we could extract most of those relations with minimal error. The recall rate is not as high, and this is because we do not have access to all the articles. This is something we are actively working on and trying to bridge the gap between what's available in OpenSet versus the articles that are being published within the journals. A brief about NLP Core. NLP Core is a text mining platform that uses a variety of AI and machine learning techniques. We collect a lot of statistical data from the research articles in the form of their references, counts, and other NLP properties. Our primary goal is to identify concepts and establish relationships between those concepts, and we try and categorize those concepts into various topics to make the presentation easier and help people understand a lot of those concepts with much ease. As you must be aware of, a lot of these unsupervised machine learning techniques are very noisy, and they tend to produce a lot of results. So to deal with that and to make the platform more and more accurate, every day we are actively working on feedback mechanism, wherein we would like to invite researchers and have them upvote or downvote our results, and use that as another learning parameter and increasingly streamline those relationships. This is a very general overview of how we use NLP. So for each sentence, we break it down into part of speech tags and then create a dependency, graph, and using various ranking mechanisms we rank certain relationships higher than the others to create a hierarchy, and that's how we increasingly add more and more relationships and have some sense of relevancy. For the original challenge, we identified some keywords for each of the tasks. These are the tasks proposed by the Allen Institute for the COVID-19 challenge. We collected these keywords to streamline our search engine to find very specific pattern for each of those tasks, namely transmission, infection, and treatment. As part of the experiment, we produced a reference table with reference to the document ID, as mentioned in the dataset, with the title and a section title for each of the reference, and few sentences to to give the context for each of those results that we find. This is a screenshot from one of the reference, where you can see we're looking at an entity called beta coronavirus, and for that entity you can see a list of articles. For each article there is a section and a sentence from where we extracted the entity. As I mentioned before, our main strength is to create concepts, assign them to topics, and create relationships. This is one such screenshot where for the query COVID and transmission we've created this interaction graph. Let's try this in a live demo. So I can go to search.nlpcore.com. Here I'm going to select the dataset COVID-19, and let's do the same query COVID-19 and transmission, and I click on search. So the first set of results that you see is a list of documents where the engine found in the search terms, and it is showing us the more frequently occurring terms and their topics in which these concepts have been assigned. So I can click on a particular document. So we can select any particular topic and have the website highlight those for easy review in the entire article. We can also look into similar documents. These are the articles that have the most common cosine similarity to this currently selected article. Now going back to the graph, let's go and look at the graph. So you can see it's a dense graph of concepts and their relationships. So we can zoom into a particular entity and then look at all the references. So for example, if we were interested in COVID-19 patients and we wanted to look at the relationships, we could right click on it, look at the references. So here you can see this is the article, that's the section where the relationship was extracted, and then the actual sentence. We can also ask the engine to center our graph around this node. So as you can see, now we're looking at COVID-19 infection patients and all the entities related to it. For any particular entity, if we wanted to look at further references, we can add neighboring nodes, and this way we can interactively expand our graph and browse through a lot of information. For future, we are trying to create a one-click access where researchers could cite relationships directly through our website, and also use this to publish their research. We are, as I mentioned before, working actively on the feedback mechanism, and we are trying to engage with experts in their domain to gather more and more expert curation and create a pipeline that will streamline the feedback learning. Another challenge is that there are a lot of data sets available, as there are scientists around the world working on different problems in biology, Hence, we're working on creating a very streamlined process to ingest those dictionaries and have all the documents annotated with the identified keywords and their properties. Also, we would like to create a platform where users can come in and create their own dictionaries and have it annotated and make it available to other scientists if they wish to. I would invite you to try our platform or search.nlpcore.com or try one of our Kaggle submissions and give it a try. At this point, I would like to thank you for the opportunity and invite any questions.